Okay, I'm apologizing for this right now. My video camera keeps being a little bit weird, and I don't know why, and I'm sorry about that. It keeps glitching a little bit, so I apologize if the picture goes in and out. Hopefully, at the very least, the audio is being okay since I have a brand new mic that I got for my birthday from my mom that is a snowball mic, so hopefully that'll help at least with the sound issues. It shouldn't make any difference in regards to what's going on with the video, but I don't know what's going on with the video, so I'm sorry about that. So I have more technical difficulties than normal. Fun. Well, I was going to do a fun intro and then this started happening, so whatever. I'm wearing a shirt that has the 10th Doctor and Hermione Granger on it, who are two of the smartest people in fandom. Not necessarily this fandom, but a fandom at the very least. Their respective fandoms. Okay. Going into chapter 1113. So we don't get any more of the Yamato cover series in this one, but we do have a very cool looking cover page that I really, really love. And this is, I love this because it's actually a reference to things that actually exist, and it just makes me so happy. So what we have is, it's the Straw Hats as a chess set, and Robin is the one playing chess, which is just adorable. So we have all the rest of the Straw Hats are there. We have all of the pawns are choppers in various different cute little armors, which is adorable. And then we have Jimbei and Frankie as the rooks. We have Sanji and Zoro as the knights, and Sanji has a white horse and Zoro has a black horse. Also, I like that Sanji's white horse has green hair and Zoro's black horse has blonde hair, which I just find funny. Brooke is the bishop, and I only see one bishop, so I'm assuming, yeah, no, there's two bishops. No, sorry, there's two Brooks. The other one's kind of bending down and using the bow and arrow. And then we have Nami as the queen, which of course she is. And then we have Luffy as the king, and he is in gear 5th. And Robin is the one playing them as a chess set, and she's picking up Luffy and moving him around, because if there's anyone on the Straw Hat crew that is definitely the one that is the player of the game, it's Robin. And I like this because it is a little bit of a thing, reference thing that happens in the chapter, because it is kind of the Straw Hats are all protecting Robin, or at least the ones that are around Robin at the moment with Saturn are all protecting her. Someone just walked in the house, it's fine. So Brenda might bark. So we have that, and I really like all the color display here. I really just like it in regards to what we see. Going into the actual chapter, we have, the chapter is called Stalemate, which is, a chess phrase anyway, also. And it's also just like a stalemate isn't like two sides have come to a head and they've come to a stalemate. Checkmate is the chess term, or just check, depending on the circumstances. Or I guess a stalemate happens in chess too, and like you're both down to just like your kings and neither one can do anything. So we have that. So Brenda's like, I have to see who was here. It's okay. It's okay. And so we start the chapter with basically where we left off with the last chapter. We see the outside of Punk Records, and then we see kind of, get more of the broadcast is going on, and we see Mars is there, and so he's like, the world's largest brain, Punk Records. And then we hear Vegapunk talking in the background, and it's from the broadcast, and he's like, now then, while my coffee could use more time to cool, it's probably safe to assume that we've given people sufficient time to set up their video transponder snails. And then we have Shaka going, T-minus 30 seconds, Stella. And Pythagoras going, I'm getting nervous. We'll be broadcasting to the entire world. And we have Mars there, and he's looking around, and he has found, just like at the end of the last chapter, he's found the distribution Din Mushi is, I think, the way that it was explained, which it's the ones from Film Red. Oda's just like, no, these are canon now. So we have that. Although this one's a bit of a tricky one. And Mars is just looking around to like, it continues to live even after your death, Vegapunk. And we see him looking up. And he's like, is this your true self? And he's looking up at the thing that was gurgling. And it is Vegapunk's head in a giant tank. And the first thing I thought of was the heads in a jar in Futurama. Because I am a dork. Yeah, I got heads in the jar from Futurama is what I thought of. So we see Vegapunk's head, the part that he chopped off and that has continued to grow ever since, and he's got his hair still on there as well, and such, and it's got this huge label on it that says Punk Records. There's stuff plugged into the brain and everything, and it's just this huge tank. We get a size comparison to Mars, and this thing is gigantic. Like, Mars is like this big in the panel, and everything else is like this big. And it's just like, okay then. Yeah, definitely the person with the biggest brain in the world. Although, I would have a side comment about this in regards to Vegapunk's brain. In regards to Vegapunk's brain, obviously it can still keep living even after he's dead, which I do know that with, at least with humans, that there are cases where sometimes the brain can keep living even after, like, the rest of the motor functions and such of the body have died or have ceased. It's just the brain sometimes takes longer to die, and then there's reverse situations where it's the person is brain dead and they're a vegetable. I've dealt with this in my family, and it's not fun. So there's some of that stuff like corresponding with that, but this is also, you know, Vegapunk is the smartest man in the world and probably the smartest man in the last 800 years since the Void Century. I'm sorry, Saturn. And what it appears to be is that obviously if anyone can come up with a way to be able to preserve their brain in what is essentially a giant jar and keep it alive, it's Vegapunk. It's Vegapunk. And that is proven here. Also, you know, he chopped his brain off, so it's like, that already just sounds like a very bad idea. And, like, just, oh my god. I really freaking hope he had a lot of anesthesia going on at that point in time when he did this. So we see all of that. The other comment that I had is like, okay, so we have it that Vegapunk is the one that ate the devil fruit, which is perfectly reasonable. He is the smartest man in the world. It makes sense that he would be the one to find and eat the brain fruit. Oh, I went out of focus. Hold on. This is what I get for moving. There we go. And the thought that I had is that, well, Vegapunk is a quote-unquote regular human who ate the devil fruit. What if a giant, who was also like a super genius, ate the devil fruit? How big would their brain get? Because it's like, okay, and they would live so much longer than Vegapunk anyway, you know, on the whole, because, you know, giants can live to be like 300, maybe 400, or some 300 to 400 years old, give or take, you know, whether or not they fight Big Mom when she's a child. And, like, it would make perfect sense for, like, if a giant ate the brain fruit, what's going to happen? You know, how big would their brain get if they just continuously learned and invented and created stuff and everything like that? How big would the giant's brain get? And how big of a tank would they need to have for that? Is one of the questions there. The other question that I have with this is, okay, so obviously Vegapunk's brain is preserved in this regard, but what are the circumstances for the devil fruit? Because, like, I would assume that he would have probably run the numbers and figured out, okay, as long as at least this part of me remains alive, the brain fruit should still remain intact, as in me possessing it. and then this can continue to grow and act as what would essentially be like what he wants to do is like create the World Wide Web for the One Piece world. So that would make sense. But the question is, if the, you know, his body has died, but this part is still preserved. So that seems to be preserving this in this regard, because we know that with Kuma, he has been essentially brain dead, you know, been just, you know, the programming running in the background since just, you know, since Marineford, basically. And he still physically has his devil fruit power. He still has the power of the paw paw fruit. So does that mean that Vegapunk's brain, as long as this thing still stays intact, that devil fruit will not reincarnate? That's a possibility. I don't know. But back to what Mars is doing. Mars is just like, and again, what is death to something like this? Your voice continues even housed here. And he's walking over to the snail, and the snail is going, what is it? This is snail saying, hold on, I want to make sure I read this correctly. Indeed, this footage will eventually reach the entire world. I take pride in that connection, but sharing this is also a great burden. And then we cut to some other places around the world. So we're going to go to Syrup Village first, which I love seeing Syrup Village because I love Kaya. I definitely ship her and Usopp, just like the people who did the live action do. And we see Kaya's mansion, and we hear we're going to see Kaya in a second, but we see Mary first, and then we know that the three veggie pirates are there as well. And they're like, wait, you don't have one, Kaya-san? We thought that you would, of all the people in the village, would have one. And they're referring to the visual transponder snails, the really, really big ones. Which, yeah, you would think that if anyone in the village had one, it would be Kaya. But she apparently doesn't. And Mary's like, yeah, do you really, those things are really, really big. They're bigger than your average house pet, is what he's pointing out. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to go get you guys tea. So he's going to head off. Love Mary. And then we see Kaya, who I like. Okay, we usually see Kaya in bright colors. So I like that it looks like she's like in like a black sweater type thing. Because like we generally, when we see Kaya, anytime she's like in the very bright colors of like yellow or something like that. Because like yellow is also like Usopp's corresponding color as well to a degree at times. And so I like that here, but we're going to see her in a much darker sweater at the very least. It may not end up being... Oh, no, the video froze. Hold on. So, I just like seeing Kaya in darker colors at times, or something that'll, like, I don't know, highlight her complexion or something. I don't know. But we see her talking to the three veggie pirates as they're sitting around her little table with a little Den Mushi that looks like it has a little goat head thing on the back, so it's supposed to be representing Mary, or, like, the Going Mary in the back, so I like that. And she's like, Vegapunk's a legend in the medical field too, you know. And of course, we know that Kaya has been studying to become a doctor. And we see the three veggie pirates there. I don't remember which one is which. I really don't care. And they're just arguing about like, or talking about like, yeah, I know that is. Yeah, big whoop. And and they're like, yeah, you know, you need to pay attention to this. Seriously. And then we're going to cut to inside what is probably just like a marine base somewhere. Just listening into what's going on here, and it's just one of like the low-ranked intelligence gathering officers that are just like, it'll be starting shortly. So it's not like they can order them to turn them off. It's not like Gin can just send out this message to like turn off every single snail all over the world, because he can't do that. Or at the very least, the Gorosei can't order that. So even the Marines are like, okay, well, we got to listen to what's going to happen. We're going to hear about it one way or another. We got to at least have an idea of what we have to react to in this regard. So we see that, and then we cut to the Twin Capes, where we see Crocus and Laboon, and they're sitting and listening to the Den Mushi. And Crocus's Den Mushi has like the hair that Crocus has, which is funny, the flower hair. And then we're going to cut to the future land of Baltimore, which is the island where, of course, Vegapunk was born, and it is also where Frankie ended up during the 2-year time skip, where he found Vegapunk's lab. And we see, I believe they're supposed to be the same, the grandfather and the grandson that Frankie interacted with while he was on Baltimore, that were like his, his friends while he was there. And I think it's the grandson going like, you mean he really was born here? And the grandpa's like, you betcha, he's Baltimore's pride and joy. And they're like watching on the big screen that's there, because of course Baltimore would have that, because Vegapunk's probably like, yeah, I set this up a while ago, here, you can use it if you need it. And then he left. And they're just like, and I think the grandson's like, yeah, wasn't he responsible for the Nightmare of Baltimore? And they're like, yeah, no, that was Frankie. I heard he's turned himself into a ship now. Just a reference to the Going Merry poster, or not the Going Merry poster, the Thousand Sunny on Frankie's bounty poster, which is hilarious. That's just so funny. I love that. Also in the background, we see several different cyborg animals, because like we see like a cyborg lion and like I think a cyborg deer in the background, because we know that Vegapunk turned a bunch of the animals into cyborgs on the island. So we see some of them, and we see the grandfather again. He's just like, how many years has it been now, Vegapunk? So I don't know if we ever got the exact age on the grandpa in this, the grandpa from Baltimore, so I guess it's a possibility that like maybe he knew Vegapunk. It's a possibility. Maybe they were childhood friends. I don't know. Now we're going to cut to the Torino Kingdom, or the Birdie Kingdom, where Chopper studied for the 2 years, and the South Blue. So we've gone to the East Blue with Kaya. We've gone to Twin Capes at the beginning of the Grand Line. We've gone to Baltimore, which I want to say is in the North Blue, but don't quote me on that one. I don't remember. Or is it in the Grand Line? I don't think it's in the Grand Line. I can never remember where Baltimore is. And then we have Chopper's, where Chopper had went. The Torino Kingdom is in the South Blue. So we're kind of jumping around the world. We're also going to end up at in the New World in a minute. But we're on the Birdie Kingdom first, and we get to see all the little the villagers that Chopper hung out with, and they're like, seems it's about the island where Tanuki-Chi is, so they still call him a Tanuki even though he's not a raccoon. And they're like, yeah, the king of modern science, but his smarts have also been used to make many weapons, is what they're pointing out, which is true. And Vegapunk mentions sins, but his sins that he's referring to are sins against the world government and sins against the Tenryubito and the Gorosei and such. But they're like, yeah, his stuff has been used to make weapons. That is very, very true. That's not a lie. So then we cut to Hachinosu, where we just see a bunch of random riffraff pirates from the Blackbeard crew, probably, that are just arguing and fighting with each other. And they're like, quiet down, you scallywags. And it's just like, yeah, that Vega fellow is going to speak. And it's just like, one of them is just like, so what? You crossed me earlier. I ain't letting you slide just to listen to some old fossil meaty. See, like one pirate, like probably like a, I don't know, just some of the random female pirates just like, yay, in the background. Just like, and they're all watching what's going on. We do see the skull head of Hachinosu, so I guess maybe, and it does look like it's been punched a bit from when Garp and Kobe had some fun with it. It looks like it's been damaged, so Avala Pizarro may not be hiding out inside of the skeleton thing for a while. The skeleton space for a little while. We're going to cut to a few other places around the world. We see a place where it is raining, but we don't get a name for it. We see another place that I don't know what kingdom it is. I can't really tell, but it's just like they're all watching like this, and Vegapunk's like, can you hear me? And we cut to just outside of Egghead Island. He's like, testing. This is Vegapunk. And we see that Mars has stepped on the snail, and the outside shell of it has broken, and inside is just a regular Denden Mushi. And he's like, oh no, that's not good. He's like panicking, like, oh no. It's like an ordinary transponder snail. Oh no, that means this is not here. This is not the right hiding place. Oh no, you wanted to fool me with a decoy. It's like, well, duh. I would have done the same thing. I don't think I would have the guts to stand up to the world government the way that, Vegapunk is, but still. And we still hear Vegapunk. This is Vegapunk. Attention, world. And Mars just gets angry and turns. He was like, screw this. Turns back into his giant form. He's like, curse you, Vegapunk. He turns back into his Itsumade form. And probably causes some damage. I think he burst out of the bottom of Punk Records and popped out of the bottom and turned back into his form. In the Itsumade form. And Vegapunk's like, hello out there. And Stella's just like, or Ashaka is just like, Stella, we already had an introduction where you did the signal jacking part. He's like, I know. Fine then, we'll get started. Without further ado, and we cut to some other places. We got to a kingdom that looks like it's got a lot of long-armed people. So that might just be like where the long-armed tribe is. And they're like, all right, let's hear it already. Who knows what's coming? And then we cut to just like this little family somewhere at night with this little kid popping his head out of the tent like, oh, what's up? And the mom's just like, yeah, just a very important man is making an announcement. Just go back to bed, dear. It's like parents listening to the nightly news. Kids popped in. Mommy, I heard something. No, it's fine, dear. Just an important announcement. Go lay back down. We'll tell you in the morning. It's just like, I remember being a kid and having very little idea what was going on in the world outside of just like school and family, and even then. And then things happened when I was like 9. 9/11 happened when I was 9. Yeah, that was big. Still is. So we see that, and we see Mars is now flying around, and he is like he's using his telepathic powers with the other Gorosei, being like, okay, it's like, it hasn't stopped yet. Mars, what are you doing? My apologies. That wretched punk, he was much more cautious than we gave him credit for. There is certainly no stopping the broadcast. Currently no stopping the broadcast. And we cut to the outside view of this, and we see the outside of Punk Hazard, of Egghead Island, where we see just the Marine ships still firing. We see that a lot of them have sustained damage, but we just see flames all over the coast of the island. It's like, it's impossible to determine how much he actually knows or what he intends to say now. But York told us he wished to carry a torch for the O'Haran scholars. And we just see all of the other 4 Gorosei are just like, oh no, that's not good. It's like, this won't be a repeat of Clover. He means to finish what O'Hara started. And we just see all of them oh no, that's not a good thing. And then we see the panel that is like the slight flashback to O'Hara, where we see it was Spondine, who is Spondam's father, shooting Clover on the orders of the Gorosei. And then we cut back to Sanji and Vegapunk, where we see Sanji is still carrying. But we cut back to Sanji, and we cut back to where Sanji is running with Vegapunk. And then we have underneath Vegapunk, we have it where it's just like all the Gorosei are going, Vegapunk! Just like angrily, and they're telepathic linked to each other. And Sanji is like, did you hear that? It was a sweet girl crying out, Bonnie-chan needs me! He's just like running as fast as he can to get to where Bonnie is, which is a good thing because they're being attacked by, as shown in the last chapter, a giant skeleton horse with swords and with a sword and scary glasses. And we see, Noshjuro is there, Ethan Barron, whatever you want to call him. We see him there. And he is raising a sword up, getting ready to strike. And Sanji's just like, what the heck is that thing? And Ethan is just like, Juri Bonnie, we will not surrender our military might to you. And we see Frankie has jumped in front of Bonnie to protect her. And he's like, get back, Bonnie. And we hear Sanji screaming on the side, "Out of the way, Frankie!" And he's like, "Huh?" And Sanji is screaming, and he's just like, "If anyone's gonna pull off an impressive rescue of Bonnie," and he jumps in and he like kicks Ethan Barrow right in the chin and such. It's like, "It'll be me." And I saw this and I'm just like, the thing that popped into my head, because I'm an NSYNC fangirl, is "It's gonna be May." Ugh, for Justin Timberlake for that. And Sanji at the very least seems to make Ethan Barron bleed a little bit. Makes him bleed out of his mouth. And then Ethan Barron and Sanji is just like, "We're not gonna cut you slack just because you're senile. This is a pirate's fight, you geezer." And Ethan Barron is just like, "Screw it," and just like shifts his head into his horse head and he bites Sanji in the middle. And he actually, I think Sanji, well, okay, so when Sanji kicked him, he was still holding Vegapunk. And then Ethan Barron bit Sanji, and Sanji, I think, threw Vegapunk to the side. And so Sanji has now been bit by the giant demon skeleton horse. By the way, horse bites can hurt. I haven't personally experienced, but I am aware that they hurt. And Bonnie is worried, so she shouts Sanji. And then we see Oimo and Kashi have arrived, and they're like, "What is that?" And we cut back to the Vegapunk satellite feed, and he's like, "I confess that I've committed 2 grave sins." And we see Oimo and Kashi run over, and they grab Ethan Barron, one of them around his neck, one of them around his middle, and they're just like grabbing him and pinning him, and he lets Sanji go. So Sanji has at least been let go. He might have a couple of cracked ribs. Bit by a horse. Giant frickin' skeleton horse. Who if I was said skeleton horse, I probably would hockey up my teeth before I go on anybody. And they're just like grabbing him and pinning him to the ground. We see that Atlas has caught the Stella body. And Bonnie is just like, "Screw this," and just uses her, it's the first time we've seen her use her power since she saw that Nika was real. And she's like, "Distorted future," and they're like, "What the heck? What is Juri Bonnie doing?" We see the some Marines off on one of the ships that has showed up with the Red King and whatnot with their group that showed up. And Bonnie goes big, and she goes, "Give me a giantish future." And she's just big. And she is getting ready to stomp on Ethan Barron, which I'm just like, "You go, girl." And we don't see the end of that panel, but it looks like she's about to land on him with at least a pretty good whack, I would say. I love the fact that they're showing that Bonnie has... I'm hoping that this at least results in a good amount of... Probably not like gonna like put Ethan Barron down for the count by any means, but hopefully it at least causes some damage to the dude. And we need to find out via stress testing this what other attacks can cause damage to the Gorosei right now, because we know that Gear 5th attacks do, but we don't know what other types of attacks may have the ability, like how high of a caliber of an attack do they need to be able to actually cause damage to the Gorosei, to the point where they at least have to pause for a moment to heal, or might be at least down for a couple of minutes while they're healing. Since we haven't really seen too much of that. In that regard, since really the only one we've seen besides Kuma dealing damage to Saturn, Luffy, and then Dory and Froggy were able to cause damage to Jupiter, but he was a worm and they just, cut him. So there's a bit of a difference there. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But if we can find out that Bonnie can at least reproduce attacks that can cause damage to the Gorosei, then that would be a good thing. So she's getting ready to stomp on Ethan Barron, and Ethan Barron is not looking happy about this. And then we get the broadcast over this, and he goes like, I believe that I will soon be executed for my transgressions. So this message will be programmed to broadcast the second my heart stops beating. And we cut back to other places around the world. We cut to Sabaody, where we cut to out in the streets of Sabaody, where they're watching this being broadcast, and they're just like, oh, he can't be serious. Wait, does that mean he's already dead? And then we cut to where Duval is with his group, with the Rosy Life Riders, and he's just like, it can't be. He was all over the papers just this morning. They said he's being held hostage by the Straw Hat Pirates. So obviously we know that during the 2-year time skip that Duval and his crew tried their best to guard the Thousand Sunny until Kuma showed up, and then he guarded it until Frankie showed up. So Duval at the very least is like, he's on the Straw Hat's side. Also, Sanji gave him free cosmetic surgery, so, you know. And then we cut to the Germa Kingdom. I do not know why my camera is acting up. I am sorry. We cut to the Germa Kingdom where we see Judge, and then we see Caesar, and Caesar is just having a mental breakdown. He's just like, I refuse to accept this. You're lying, you bastard. You can't just die. We just teamed up so we could surpass you. I'm just like, no offense, Caesar. Actually, no, very much offense. You and Judge even combined, even with Queen, could not surpass Vegapunk. I'm sorry. You couldn't. You can't. You fail at making smiles, dude. You are not set for this. Your deadly gas that you made to try to kill an entire country is still just full of holes. So you're not exactly the best answer here to this. You may think you're a genius, you're not. Or at least nowhere near a genius on the level of Vegapunk. Judge, at the very least, figured out the cloning thing. And the human enhancements in regards to his children. So I can't really argue with that. But he's still a horrible person and a horrible father. Which are bad. And then we cut to what would be inside of the World Economic Times helicopter plane teapot thing. And we see Morgan is having a mental breakdown now. He's just like, hey, what's this big idea with this massive broadcast? He's trying to kill print media. And it was just like, first of all, broadcast media did not kill print media. Online media kind of killed print media, or is at least still working on killing it in the first place. Still working on dragging it through its death throes at the moment. Although I appreciate print media in its own regard. So then we cut back to the broadcast where we have Vegapunk. And he's just like, even so, I want to make one thing clear, and I pray you understand this. Please do not assume that the ones who strike me down are evil, regardless of who they seem to be. I do not intend to discuss right and wrong here. And then we cut to on the inside of the fabrication sphere where we have it that or the Lavosphere, whichever one it is, where Saturn has managed to climb up there and he is interacting with the straw. Okay. So we get to where Saturn has managed to climb up to where the Nami's group is, and he is interacting with them, and we have at least someone is shouting, leave us alone. I don't know if it's Nami or Usopp, but someone's shouting it. And then we have Vegapunk going, I am not qualified to judge such things, and I do not know nearly enough about him in any case. So I like the fact that this panel is overlaid with where we have Saturn just looking psychotic. And he's, screaming about Vegapunk, and he's yelling at the Straw Hat, step aside, I have no time to deal with vermin like you. And we see Nami and Usopp are squaring up. Brook is running over. It looks like, I think Lilith is running over. Chopper has jumped on the gurney that has Robin in it, is trying to, I think, push it out of the way. And Robin is about to have a traumatic childhood flashback. And she's like, that voice... And she's like, and we're cutting back to Ohara where we have the moment where it's when Clover is talking to the Gorosei over the Denden Mushi. And it's Saturn's voice going, I see that is quite an audacious hypothesis. Because it's in regards, I believe, to when Clover is talking about the Ancient Kingdom. And then we cut back to where Saturn is just being Psycho Spider again, and he's just like, you must be Nico Robin, the woman Akainu let slip through his fingers, that impotent fool. And Robin is just like, he's one of the 5 elders. And to be fair, when Robin was a child and everything was happening on Ohara, I don't know if she heard the whole context of what was happening with the conversation where Clover was talking to the Gorosei. We, as the audience, were told that he was talking to the Gorosei because we saw that that was going on. Robin may not have shown up soon enough to have heard that part of the conversation where it's you're talking to the Gorosei or whatever. You're now online and have an audience with the Gorosei. So we don't really know about that. But Robin is now putting those pieces together, and she's putting together the fact that they were the ones that called Buster Call and O'Hara, and they were the ones who were talking to Clover and ordered his death. So that's what's going on there. From there, we cut to where we have Robin we have Nami, and she's like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like trying to figure out what Robin means. And Usopp, to his credit, is not backing down here. We then have Nami shouting, "Protect Robin." So we have Nami screaming, "Protect Robin," and she just like, I'm thinking because Saturn stabbed the gurney and she's pulling Robin out of the way of the gurney. She has Zeus popped out of her climb attack, and he's gone into his like Morning Star form where he's, blocking Saturn's legs from where he's attacking. Chopper has gone into his guard point, the giant fur point that he has, where he like blocks one of the legs from stabbing him. And I don't know if I think it's Nami that is saying this. "We will keep you safe no matter what." She's saying that to Robin. We also see that Brook has shown up, and he's, using his powers to try to block the leg stabbing them. Usopp is firing off stuff from his Kabuto. So I love that Usopp is not backing down here. That these guys have now put together that this is a Gorosei, and they're just like, screw it. We're protecting Robin anyway. I don't care. And it's Nami and Usopp who are, and Chopper who are, the scaredy cat trio or the weakling trio. And it's in this case, it's like, screw it. We are protecting our crew member. I don't care if you think we're weak. We're going to do everything we can to protect Robin. And Brook is there as well, and he's, helping as much as he can and everything like that. So we got 4 Straw Hats because Robin's still injured, fighting against 1 Gorosei. Also, I like this because it does kind of highlight the bond that, like, Nami and Robin have, because when Robin first joined, Nami was kind of iffy about her, even after, Robin kind of, gave her a bunch of jewels and everything like that. But they warmed up to each other pretty quickly. And this is just after Nami has spent, a good bit of time with, Vivi while they were making their way to Alabasta and everything. And then, throughout everything that happened, the whole setup through all of them traveling all the way to Sabaody, Robin and Nami, particularly after everything happened at Enies Lobby, and Robin is fully like, yes, I am a member of this crew now, and these guys are my friends, they are my nakama. The Nami and Robin have a very, very good relationship. And then even after, the 2-year time skip, we still have it that they have a very, very, very good relationship. And, even, going through everything else that's happened, that, Nami and Robin have pretty much always had a pretty steady relationship. And this kind of calls back to something that they'll be getting to pretty quickly in the anime when they have captured Rob Lucci, and they're all up in the Labo phase, and Lucci is kind of unconscious. And Nami is like kicking Lucci for the fact that he hurt Robin. And Robin's just like, "Nami, please stop." So we're going to get to that soon in the anime, but I'm just like, I like that. And it's just like, we get these nice moments here between Robin and Nami, and like, just, we got Chopper and Usopp there, Brook, all there helping protect Robin. Cause like, Brook wasn't around when Enies Lobby happened. Well, he was alive and on a ship in the, Florian Triangle, but he wasn't with the crew yet. So, and he's probably been informed about what happened at Enies Lobby by either like just sitting and talking with Robin or reading about it in the logbook or talking to Usopp or something like that. And so he's aware that the Straw Hats have gone up against the world government for Robin. And in this case, he's like, well, I wasn't able to help then. Now I'm going to help now. So I love that. And then we cut to where we see back to Mars and York. And Mars just screaming about, "Where is it, York? You have to tell me where it would be. Come on." And we have it that he's just like, the Vegapunk broadcast is like, I'm sure what I'm about to say will be hard to accept. Some of you might think me a madman or even an idiot. And Mars is just like, this is futile. There are far too many life forms in the vicinity of the laboratory. I can't sense any unique telepathic wave. So it's like he's trying to use his like hockey sense or so to try to figure out where any of the other Dendenmushi are that would be able to broadcast this. And he's just like, where is it? And York is like, oh my god, like think. If this keeps up, then they won't let me be a celestial dragon. I'm a Vegapunk too, so where would I hide it? And so she's like, come on. I can do this. Brain, work. Yeah, so there's that. And Vegapunk is like, that said, it is still my duty to ensure that everyone is aware of this issue. And Mars is just like telepathically with the others is just like, perhaps we should consider destroying the power station to stop this. And Saturn is like, that is out of the question. The nearby marine ships and equipment aren't the only things we stand to lose in the blast. We would also, and I think it's Top Man that's pointing this out, we would also be sacrificing our one and only means of replicating our success with the Mother Flame. So everything had happened back on the Lucia. And Vegapunk is like, I'll cut to the chase. Our world is sinking into the ocean. And just like the Marines, what does that mean? And then we cut to below the ocean where we see, well, first we have this like great big outside shot of Egghead Island with just like the sun shining on it as it's burning. And then we cut down to where we cut below the ocean where we see mermaids swimming with a whale. And I'm thinking these are some of the same mermaids we saw that work at the Mermaid Cafe with Kami and Madame Charlie. So we see that. And it's just like, yeah, our world is sinking into the ocean. And I'm like, global warming. The world is sinking, which is just a commentary on what is going on in our actual world. With the coastline, with the ocean levels rising and everything like that. Venice, the city on the water, is sinking as we speak, which is a reference to the fact that, Water 7 in One Piece is sinking beneath the waves because the actual physical bottom of the island keeps sinking down, and they keep building up. And, the world itself is mostly islands. And it's quite possible that just like so many of the islands are just like sinking beneath the waves more and more and more. A little more of us is washed away every year. If I can quote Disney's Atlantis, The Lost Empire. So that's happening. And I think the way that Vegapunk is going to loop it around in this is, so he's saying that the world is sinking. So that either means that just like all of the islands themselves are going to keep sinking, or because of actions by the world government, specifically by the Gorosei, or like the Mother Flame as just was reported, just mentioned, it could be used to just like sink all of these islands, sink more and more islands, and it could then be used to then cause just sea levels to rise all over the world. Again and again and again, just for the way that like the ocean currents keep shifting because stuff keeps getting moved around to where it's not supposed to be. Also, having a giant frickin' wall that loops around the entire world to divide it probably doesn't help in regards to regulating ocean levels. Regulating sea levels. So yeah, there's that too. So there's that. But I don't really know exactly 100% what else Vegapunk is going to say here. I mean, he might go and do something where he'll loop it around and be like, and this is why this is happening, because this thing is here, and because this thing keeps happening, and the Gorosei did this, or the world government did that, or something along those lines, is what could get explained here by Vegapunk in regards to the different problems that are occurring in the world, and why the world is sinking. Admittedly, I'm pretty sure, because like 76% or something like that of like our world is, the surface of our world is ocean. And then we have all the major continents, and then we have smaller islands and subcontinents and things like that. And then we just have like some islands that literally will like appear for a few hours and then disappear with low tide, up and down with the different tides and everything like that. And the One Piece world really doesn't have any major continents. The only real continent technically that they have is the Red Line. And even then, the only ones that live on the Red Line are the ones that are at Mary Geoise. The only ones that live on Mary Geoise are the Celestial Dragons and their slaves and their servants and such. And their guards and whatnot. And then some specific, marine people that live there. Like, I think Kong lives there, and there's probably a few other ones that live there that are like Kong's staff and things like that. But then we have, Goa Kingdom, while it is technically an island, the Dawn Island is an island, it's not like this huge, expansive island that's like the size of a continent. Same thing with like other ones that we've seen throughout the One Piece world. It's like Dressrosa is large, Alabasta is large, but they're not like continental size in regards to what we would consider a continental sized object. Because like technically the quote unquote smallest continent, I think, is technically Europe. But then there's Australia, which is, it's both an island and a country and a continent. So there's that in there as well. And just, there's the whole question of like, well, if we crumble the Red Line in certain places, is that going to adjust sea levels in certain areas? What's that going to do to the Grand Line and the calm belts and everything like that? How's that going to affect things? Do we just need to like find a way to like suck up a ton of the seawater and then just like, I don't know, put it somewhere else? That seems like something that they would come up with here in our world as a solution to fixing things. Let's just move the ice caps and put them in a place where they need water. Yeah, that's a very smart idea. We don't know what's in the ice caps. But because I keep getting camera issues, and I'm sorry about that, that is where I'm going to finish this up for today. Hopefully I will get figure out what's going on with the camera and why it's not working correctly. So that's what I have. I thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye.